All right, welcome everyone. Tonight we have a special session on mind body balance and college planning with strategies to ease anxiety. And we have a pretty full agenda. So I'm going to kick off and just discussing the pressures that we often see in college admissions today and just some of those unrealistic expectations that students and parents tend to hold. How we can then reframe this process and thinking about it more from is it a good fit for our student, provide growth and belonging rather than just looking at selectivity and rankings. And then the exploring how our emotional well-being can plays this role, right? Our mindset and our level of success in this whole process and decision making. And we've got two fabulous practitioners here with us tonight. Lauren and Kim are going to be talking about the different modalities that are going to help both parents and students to be successful in this process. So for current clients that are on this call, we do have in your files a strategies to ease anxiety folder. So there are links in there to both Lauren and Kim, as well as another one with some family retreats and therapeutic intensives. For those of you that are not clients and don't have access to our portal, in the YouTube description, you're going to see the link to those resources as well. So some of this pressure in college admissions, I think that this is really challenging because there are a lot of people who have this kind of just mindset of like, I have to get into the hardest school that I can possibly get into. What is the most elite? And that tends to fuel a lot of stress and anxiety and these feelings of inadequacy. And I know Lauren can talk more about this from the scope of just like the actual therapy side of it. But I've seen this come up when I talk to families, just specifically around just, how do I make sure that I get into the best school? And it's not the best school for them, it's just what they perceive as the best school. And so there's some reframe that we can take in this and just make sure that we truly understand what success means for us as a family unit in this process, which is not stereotypical. So when we think about this, we like to look at schools where a student is wanted and valued. Crazy concept, where the school really does actually see them for who they are. And it's crazy, not all schools are like that. Also, where they are going to be supported and they have access to professors or mentors and peers who are actually going to nurture their growth and that they can get engaged with the hands-on learning, the labs, the research, the fun stuff that gets them really excited and motivated to do what it is that they want to do, and where they feel connection, right? Community within their college campus, and that they feel like that they belong, right? And that is something that does not happen on every college campus. And I have heard horror stories of on some of the most prestige college campuses, how it is actually the exact opposite of that. And so one of my favorite books that came out this year was Jeff Salingo's Dream School, and I've talked about it in multiple calls that we have done. But it is one that is a really great one, I think, for parents and students that gives you a perspective from somebody who has been in this industry for a really long time and has done the research actually on what makes a great college fit from the perspective of what are you going to get out of this experience. And so it is he did one where he talked more about like the behind the scenes college admissions piece, and this took it more from the family perspective and how do you redefine what a dream school is. So I'm putting that on everybody's reading list because it is fabulous for this conversation. I think aligns with everything. So, some of the key emotional things that happen in this college process: performance anxiety, right? The fear of not measuring up to our peers or the admission standards, right? That I'm not good enough. Identity and self-worth. So, belief that that personal value depends on college acceptance outcomes. We really wish that we wouldn't, put all of that pressure on ourselves to say we have to get into this one school. Like we want to do our best and do what we can to get into the schools that we, desire. But at the same time, right, we're putting, the ladies are going to say this better than I can, but like putting that limiting belief on ourselves around how that shows up. And then family dynamics. So I joke that I am not a therapist, but in some conversations I feel like one because it is, students have a certain idea of the way things are going to go. Parents have different expectations and they don't always communicate about those things. So these leaders are really great in being able to talk about some of those great tools that we have. And then we have this pressure of saying, like, I'm not going to make the right choice. There are thousands of schools out there that you are a great fit at, a ton of them. There isn't a right or a wrong choice. I think Jeff says it really well. It's not where you go, it's how you go, and how you choose to show up on that campus is going to determine really the most of what you're going to make of that and your future success. So, we've got a lot of underlying emotional themes, and we want to feel supported as we go through this process. So, we are going to be diving into neuro-emotional technique, um, traditional therapy, and then the EFT tapping, which some of you may be new to the fun acronym ones is what I'm going to call them. But they are absolutely fabulous. And I have been working with Lauren for a lot of years now. Goodness, I don't even know. And have referred her out to multiple clients because it is really fabulous, the work that she does. And I've done EFT tapping. Actually, one of my first business coaches started me on that. And when I met Kim at my strategy sessions that we do every quarter, I was like, I really love what she's up to and the tools and resources that she has available. So I'm going to let Lauren talk more about these fun modalities for neuro-emotional technique is what we're going to start off with first.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Crystal, for having us. And thank you all for coming. Really exciting to be here with you today. My name is Lauren Nelson. I've been a psychotherapist and coach for over 18 years, and it's really been my life's work and deepest honor to bring you the most effective and powerful techniques to connect you to your authentic self, reach your goals, perform optimally, and just show up in a meaningful way in your lives and relationships. So early in my career, I quickly realized that healing doesn't happen within four walls. Talk therapy is great, and at times it's wonderful, but it's limited in the depth in which it can offer lasting change in the brain. So I needed to find a way to impact my clients deeply and create change more quickly. So I started studying neuroscience and became fascinated with the unconscious mind and the nervous system because you see, talk therapy, you only really access 12% of your brain, the conscious mind. And the unconscious mind is really where our fears and our stress live, and it's what drives behaviors. So this is 88% of the brain. So I studied all the ways that can access the unconscious mind and the nervous system to create change more quickly and effectively. So I utilize about 18 different techniques in my practice to get to the core, reset the nervous system, and support optimal performance. At the request of Crystal, I will share with you one of my favorite techniques today, and that is neuro-emotional technique. So, what is neuro-emotional technique? We'll refer to it as NET. NET is an integrative approach that finds and removes imbalances related to the physiology of unresolved stress patterns. So, this can include physical, emotional stressors, which we will explore. We can go to slide 2, Crystal.
Yes. Challenge accepted.
And is it up? Okay, perfect. And so to tailor this presentation to you, let's explore some of the challenges that arise with teenagers and college age adults and their families. So let me just see slide 2 there. So yes. So we have low self esteem, low self worth, anxiety, depression, performance anxiety, perfectionism, disordered eating patterns, difficulty sleeping, and just a lot of relationship challenges, and these are just a few of the challenges. There's a lot more. So every kid that I know feels like they are failing at something. Okay. And whether you realize it or not, your kid is their own worst critic. And social media contributes to the feelings of low self esteem greatly. I could do a whole presentation just on social media and how it affects kids. Um, so their brains aren't fully developed. until the age of 25. So even when they are acting like a tough guy or tough girl, they're actually very fragile in the brain. So a quick tip is like for every negative interaction, negative consequence, they need 5 positive interactions from you. And these could be verbal or nonverbal, like a hug, or telling them you believe in them, right? Or simply saying you're sorry. I always say to the parents I work with, like the most effective thing you can do for your child is 2 things. You can emotionally regulate yourself and also apologize. Those are 2 things that a lot of parents struggle to do. So kids are really impressionable at these ages, the young, the teenagers going off to college, right? Um, Let me see here. And pulling away is natural. So a few other key points to keep in mind is to respect their need for space. The amount of autonomy needs to reflect their appropriate age. So this allows them to learn in a safe environment, like their personal boundaries and limitations. And this also helps them to learn how to self-regulate as well. Communication should be direct and to the point. You'll lose them if you go on into a lecture. So make sure you're including what they're doing right as well. And believe it or not, when your kid is pushing back the hardest, that's when they need you to tune in the most. So their behaviors speak, not their words. And it can be really tempting to engage with them. But the best parenting happens from a non emotional place. So your emotional regulation. Your kid will trigger you at your deepest wounds. So take a step back, take some deep breaths, talk to your partner if that's available, a trusted friend, a therapist, a coach, and learn how to emotionally regulate yourself and parent from that regulated place. And this is the absolute best way to support your kid. We can go to slide 3, Crystal. So let me see here. So, how can neuro-emotional technique help? All that being said, moving forward. So this technique really does work beautifully with um, college prep and all types of business executives, professional athletes, dancers, and just normal people. And so for school performance and relationship difficulties, it will get to remove those barriers in the unconscious mind that really are affecting the relationship. It really does alleviate the stress pattern in the body, minimizes the triggers, and really helps them understand and address the behaviors, like where they're coming from. And this does allow for optimal performance in the physiology, like in the body and the brain. And I'll show you in a minute how that happens. So we can go ahead and go on to the next slide, Crystal. And so how do we do this? Neuro-emotional technique happens using a manual muscle test. It's really a biofeedback system to test what's stressing the body. So to address the mind and the body, we use what we call the home run formula. And that identifies, we call it, the different bases, as in baseball. Bases are loaded, means there's points on every part here that are testing. So we test for emotional stress and nutritional needs and physical and structure. So the emotional stress is pretty self-explanatory. It's what you're seeing, the stress, and that also includes trauma, toxic influences. That this includes like things like bacteria, viruses, parasite, or fungus. Tons of research now out on, GI health, like gut health and mental health. Mental health and depression, anxiety is actually caused by more inflammation in the body. Like this myth that serotonin theory. It's this idea that depression and anxiety is caused by low serotonin. Well, that myth was thrown out. It's actually caused by inflammation in the body. And these are the things that cause inflammation in the body. So we like to, in n.e.t, we like to test everything to see what's stressing everything. Then we move to any nutritional or biochemical needs, like, your child might be really low in vitamin D, B12, or they might have like a methylation issue, which is a processing issue of B12 and folate. So those are things that we like to test for. And then there's a physical and structural need as well. So subluxations in the spine are actually caused by emotions, and that's proven in research. But the physical structure, so when we perform the NET, it releases the subluxations, but sometimes they might also just need an adjustment of their C1. That's, the top of the neck, right? So we like to be pretty comprehensive and test with everything. So any presenting issue can cause, it can include multiple factors from any of these bases. And it's really important to address all factors related to one's health, right? To reach the optimal health and performance. So um, go ahead and go to the next slide, Crystal. So NET is based on 8 different dynamics. It's this idea that emotions are physiological based. They are really these minute proteins called information substances that are formed of neuropeptides, hormones, DNA, and molecules. And whenever we have a stress response or a stressful emotion, one of these information substances are formed. So anytime we experience something similar to that original stressful event, we then have the same response, right? So that's called a trigger response. So we refer to that as a Pavlovian response, and that comes from the research with Pavlov's dogs. If you've ever heard of that, but it's just this idea that a similar trigger will elicit the same response that you initially had. So until we go and we really address that original event and original information substance, then you're still going to have the same response. So then have this idea that emotions are in the body and they're correlated to the meridian system of the body. And that's a principle that is 4,000 years old in Chinese medicine and used in acupuncture, right? So we then clear the stuck emotions, the information substances out of the body using meridian access points and body access points. So meridian access points are really the acupuncture points. They're on your wrist. We use those, uh, and then we cover emotional points. So that really depends on, what part of the brain it's stuck on, and I'll show you a video to demo this for you. Um, we also have this idea that of repetition compulsion in psychology, that we keep repeating the same patterns and we respond in the same way to the trauma and the stress until it's resolved, until we get it right. So really going in and clearing at the original event, that's where the role of memory and physiology come in. That's where we really get it at the root, and you can clear it in 20 minutes versus years of psychotherapy, right? So I combine both to give you the whole picture there. But so then the role of memory and physiology, it's like when we remember the past stressful event, the body replicates the same response. So it's an idea in, if I tell you don't think about a spider, you're going to think about a spider, right? You don't need to be there and experience it to know, like to have that same response in your mind. So that's what NET draws on. It draws on memory when we're clearing it. And you will see that in a moment. And then, we use muscle testing. It's been demonstrated that muscle testing can access the physiology of the body, including the physiology of emotional responses. This dynamic has actually been scientifically validated, which is really cool. And it's cutting edge, really. And it's a reflex. It's the same as when you go to the doctor's office and they test your reflexes. It's the same thing. And semantic responses, I believe I talked about that when we talked about the role of memory and physiology as well. And this idea that like cures like, and that's a law of similars in the law of pharmacology that's, you know, in homeopathy. Like cures like. So we cure the current stressor with the original event, going to the original event. And this will make more sense in a minute, I promise. So it's that idea that like cures like. Sometimes we like to use homeopathy along with it to just help it go along. And let me see here. And I think it's best if we go to the video and I show you it first. This video, it's actually a pretty accurate, it is dramatized, of course, but it's pretty accurate. There was an NET practitioner on site, like on call at the Grey's Anatomy when they were shooting Grey's Anatomy. And for the stress of like one actor just loved NET. So they called Dr. Scott Walker, who's the creator of it. They're like, can we use NET with Owen, who's like a vet on the show? And he said, under one condition, like it has to be legit. And so they ran it by him. And so this is legit. So we're going to go in and play that clip.
Beckett is convinced that I am incapable of allowing joy to exist in my life due to some unprocessed trauma that your weird voodoo therapy is supposed to help. Do you think she's right? I don't know. Well, it seems like you might be caught in a pattern. And if we can find the original event that started that pattern, we can just stop it from replaying. That's it. And that's your ENT thing? It's NET, but whatever. Are you up for that? Let's go back to Germany. And just to when you said the thing to Teddy. Just focus on what you were feeling in that moment. Just be there and hold your arms strong. Okay, there it is. So now just let that go. Think about something else, anything else. And let's check the concept of nervousness, of despair, feeling of distrust, feeling of distrust, sensitivity to someone else's distrust, your distrust. Okay, so it's yours. It's crazy. Do you feel distrustful of Teddy? No. Can you remember a time in your life when you felt that way? You know, that's a broad question. Let's just check when it could have happened. Conception to 5. Listen, why do we just skip to the Iraq War? Because we're talking about trauma, that's where it started. So okay. Was it during the Iraq War? No, it's not the war then. 5 to 10? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do you have a memory of feeling distrustful when you were 10? No. Okay. Do you remember feeling joy at 10? Probably I was 10. Don't look too hard. There's probably a memory sitting right there. Just the first thing you think of. I won an award. There was a science bee at school. And I ran home after school. I had this big certificate with a seal, like foil. I remember that. And my mom was waiting for me in the kitchen. And I was about to show her it. And then she said, Owen, sit down. So I sat down and she told me that my dad died that day. So I'm sorry. What about the prize, the certificate? What? Oh, I didn't tell her about that. I didn't tell anybody. I was, I was ashamed that I was so proud, that I was so happy when she was so sad. And my dad was. Owen, I think you've been reliving this moment ever since. No, no. I think you don't trust joy. I think you stop it before something terrible happens, before the bad news comes. But it's not coming anymore. That moment is over. It came, and you're okay. So let's stop the replay. Cow. Okay, I want you to put your hand on your wrist like this. Okay, and then put your hand on your forehead and just sit and breathe. Your baby's working. Feel clear. I feel clear on what it is I want, and I don't feel guilty that I'm going to try and get it. And that's some kind of a miracle. Go one more. I want to feel perfectly clear when I tell her that I love her.
It's like the best sort of addiction, Lauren. Like, seriously.
I know. We could go to the next slide and to stay here, but it really is a accurate description, like just representation of it. And Crystal, because you've experienced this with me, it does go much deeper. And it really does happen like that and like that quickly. And I did bring this technique actually to the US military in March 2024. And if I can convince them and do it on them, I can we definitely do it, and it works with college age kids. It's really phenomenal. So yeah, and that was just a clip that I threw together. So I cut and paste some of it. So it's not the full clip. So you can go and find the full clip online. It's on YouTube. Um, but yeah, this is a really awesome technique, and it's one of many applied kinesiology techniques. Um, and this is one that is studied in research, which is really cool. And so there's research studies you can look on, and the actual website, n.e.t.mindbody.com. And I'll just give you another example of, I don't know how much time I have, Crystal.
I think you're fine.
Okay, but like, just like a minute. The One of the first studies they did, it was on cancer patients, and they did before. We like to use before and after fMRIs of the brain, which is different than a regular MRI. You can like see the flow better and just fluid. And so they took the cancer patients and they did it was very traumatic, obviously, the diagnosis, the treatment. And so you could see in the brain, in the cerebellum, where the trauma was. You can actually see that in the brain. And then it took 4.1 NET sessions for the trauma to leave the brain. Now I've studied pretty much every technique for trauma, right? EMDR, somatic experiencing, and I pull from all of them. But this, I haven't seen anything like this where it worked that fast. So that was pretty phenomenal, and it really is such a tool. For parents and children. And I mean, it's a stressful time for parents too, all of this. I mean, and it really, we all carry trauma and stress, and we pass down trauma intergenerationally. Okay, and so that passes to your kids, right? So this is awesome when you work with a family with it as well. And it is one of my favorites. Let's see. And we could go to the next slide. And that's really all for NET. And I have a bunch of different offerings for you. Like I said, NET is just one of the techniques. I'm a bit of a nerd, so of course I had to learn all of the applied kinesiology techniques and really get to the core and release intergenerationally as well. And then I do all sorts of things as well. And then I think we wanted to open it up for questions. Is that right, Crystal?
Yeah, so I'm going to say too, if people have questions, feel free to put them in the chat as we go, and then we can um,
Kim,
Yes. And then
you
Kim can.
me with you too. She goes, I want an appointment with her. You too.
So, I was curious though, Lauren. I know we can't go into crazy detail, but I know that I've referred over one client in particular is in my
Uh-huh.
head that I'm sure, where it was like all like every time I would meet with her, she would cry and break into tears as we were talking about college.
Yeah,
And I was like, there is a lot more underlying stuff going on than like we can't even
totally.
get to the world of college planning because
You
she's
can't.
stuck.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you can just kind of talk about like case studying it here in regards to like that kind of.
Yeah, so I like case studies. I mean, I started out actually working with children and families and the teens and young adults, and it is one of my favorite populations to work with. But yeah, I mean, gosh, the hormones combined with the pressure, the anxiety, and you really do need to give them all the tools, right? Sometimes before even college planning, I mean, that's a lot of pressure for a kid, right? To choose a college, to choose a career, and their brains aren't fully developed, and then they're managing all their friendships, their if they're dating and identity and all the things, right? So um yeah, it's a really tough time. So this is really the fastest way, these applied kinesiology techniques to release the stress from the body. And I will put a video, Crystal. I just haven't made it yet, for the fast technique. And maybe I'll just say, real quick, a fast version of this that you can do when your child is overwhelmed or having a panic attack, or you can, you cover all the points. So the acupuncture points are these 3 points on the wrist right here. It's the crease of the wrist. And then you follow it down. In NET, we added one more. It's the pad of the thumb. So you go like this and you just flip it over, flip your hand over, and then you cover those points and you breathe. And that helps like take a layer off. And you just do the same thing on the other side. So that's like something that you could do at home, you and your kid. But yeah, it's a stressful time. And so combining these applied kinesiology techniques like NET with psychotherapy, and I like a form of coaching too, because it's just a more direct communication style. I find it really works well with these teens and these young adults.
Yeah. And um and I don't believe you accept insurance, do you?
Let me see. Is that I don't accept insurance. I'm out of network, but I do, give you an out of receipt for your insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay. So we've still got Kim doing all of the other amazing stuff in terms of EFT tapping. So feel free, guys, if you have questions, put them in the chat. We'll also have time at the end. So then it's just going to be open question world for anything that you guys want to ask. So Kim, go ahead and take it away.
Hey, can we take the slide off for a minute for
Yeah.
another? Okay, great. So I want to hear from you guys. I'm in the chat and I can see you. This is great that I'm following up after Lauren, because after a sense of like what the nervous system can do and how powerful it is when we get to the root, shift the nervous system, the whole body can change. So I am a physician, but have just been always really, really energy sensitive, had a lot of anxiety when I was younger. And also just the way my system works, like pick up on energies and emotions and a lot of really deep awareness of what's really going on with a person or with their body, or why are they actually having these symptoms, or, physical, mental, emotional. And so, when I became a physician, I always wanted to go toward that kind of application of like getting to the root cause and looking at what is really causing anxiety or depression or physical symptoms or illnesses that won't go away no matter what we do medically. So this has really led me to an awesome neurologic modality called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. And like the stuff we've just learned from Lauren, it's very, very quickly, very, very fast. It gets really, really deep and specific, and it can allow a full resolution, even if something's been going on for years. So we're going to look at how you can use this for increasing your performance on tests, before you go into an interview, to really be in your right alignment of clarity, that they really feel you, and they'll know it's a fit. If it's a fit, you're going to know it, they're going to know it. When writing your applications, like it literally changes not just your physiology and what's happening in your body, but your mental clarity. You're operating in your higher mind. You're going to be able to just have that inner knowing of, like when the guy had his session in that video and he's like, oh my gosh, I have this awareness and I want to tell this woman I love her and everything is so clear and I want more. So how do you get to that peak performance? And I want to hear from you guys, especially the students, like, have you ever had that time where you're like, whether it's sports or you're having fun with your friends, or you're doing something and you're in the zone and you feel unstoppable, like I can do no wrong right now. Whether it's like, sinking the basketball and you're just totally like, wow, what's happening here? You're in your sort of potency and no thoughts even affect you. Have you ever had an experience like that? Or maybe you meet people and you're like, this was meant to be, it's serendipitous and things are free flowing. And that can be really different from, words jumbling out of your mouth and, oh my God, I don't know what to say, or social anxiety, or, sweaty palms, and you're like afraid before you even go into the interview and your mind's already playing out the catastrophic, like a future endpoint that you don't want and you don't know how to stop it. So what we can do with this really simple tool, it's a self-treatment. You can do it on yourself anytime, anywhere, is to shift that. Either when you're having symptoms of pain, fatigue, anxiety, like fill in the blank, PTSD, or when you're going into an important thing and you want to be at your peak performance. So you're going to go take a test, or you're going in for an interview, or even like a conversation with parents and child about like, what do you think about college? Especially as a parent, there's things where you're like, I want to be in my clarity before I even approach my kid, because I already know there's a playing out of what I think might happen that's unwanted. And if you want to change the outcome, you use EFT on yourself before you even go in, and you're going to be at your peak. So I've seen this work for people with like severe, unrelenting chronic pain that have seen every other doctor and then finally were sent to me. And one guy, it was like 4 minutes. He was on narcotics. He was seeing my colleague who was an acupuncturist, and she just couldn't get anywhere with him. And within 4 minutes of doing this technique, he was completely pain-free. So this is how quickly and how profoundly this stuff can work. I've used this with young kids as young as like, 8, even maybe 6. This kid was 6 with severe, unrelenting abdominal pain for like a year. Saw every specialist in Boston Children's Hospital, even saw, so it was like, of course, the GI workup for the gastroenterology, but then it got to like, maybe this is in his mind, because it also went along with anxiety, and he was seeing like a psychiatrist. They tried all different kinds of antacids and medications and therapy and blah, blah, blah. And when we did his one session and used EFT, he was completely symptom-free and got off all of his pain, his stomach medications. Didn't need to go to therapy anymore. Didn't keep having these anxiety breakdowns when he would go to sports. Long story short, it was associated with something that had happened at baseball, and no one had put together this trigger where he had puked on himself at baseball, and like the shame of having this stuff on his baseball uniform, and then his loving dad just trying to like encourage him, hey buddy, it's okay, get back out there. But the kid felt it as pressure. So it created this whole distortion in his nervous system, and for a year no one can figure it out. We got him better in one session. I had a 12-year-old with anxiety disorder who was on multiple medications, social anxiety, she was a dancer, didn't want to go to dance class anymore, didn't want to have sleepovers with her friends, and had to be in therapy. And after teaching her, and I did one session with her and taught her to do this herself, she got out of therapy, off all of her medications, started dancing again, sleeping over with friends. And she would go and take her friend and say, look, you're gonna do this with me. And they would do a couple rounds of EFT, and she'd be back at the party. And within a very, short time, a few months, she was completely resolved. So no matter how long the disorder has been going on, you can shift your brain. So that's my spiel. I do have a free resource for you to learn it yourself, do it yourself. And there's like scripts of how you do it, but I'm going to walk you through the whole thing here. And if you're in, I want to hear in the comments, what has been coming up for you around maybe anxiety, performance, the college decision-making process, your academic performance, or if you're a parent, what's going on with your kid that you're concerned with. So we'll specifically tap on that. But this is like any emotional, mental, or physical stuff that's coming up. They used to say, try it on everything. And it's like, it's really true. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so we're really getting into your neurologic pattern to actually change your brain, because these meridian channels directly wire back to your amygdala. There's a ton of research and data on this with PTSD, chronic fatigue, chronic pain. I, as a physician, am using it for a lot of people with obscure medical illnesses that don't get better no matter what they do, or where people can't figure out what the heck is wrong with you, or things like cancer or severe life-threatening illness where you're like, I don't want to die. How do I get my body out of this inflammatory pattern and have it actually heal? Your body can heal itself. So this is one of the applications I'm doing as a physician using EFT. But yes, it does really align you for success and for a win. And especially with colleges, like, you want to be where you belong. And if you're in your aligned nervous system, you are going inevitably to end up where you belong, because you'll meet the right people, you'll say the right things, you'll have that feeling of like it's a yes or it's a no, and you'll trust it. And so you'll move forward in the way that is the most expansive for you. And then the link at the bottom is where you can get the free training so that you can use this on your own as well. Okay, next slide.
Quick question. Do you have experience with kids suffering from PNES? I don't know what that is.
PNES?
Yeah.
What is
Valerie, can you clarify what PNES is, please? And then we can have her. We don't know the acronym for that one. Okay.
Like pediatric seizures, is it?
I don't know. We'll see what she says here in the
Some
chat.
kids will have like non-epileptic seizures, and I don't know if that's for pediatric non-epileptic seizures, but
Psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. Yeah, so you were right.
So I do have experience with people, not specifically kids I've worked with, but like older kids and adults. And absolutely unequivocally, yes. When you repattern the nervous system, it can be incredibly effective for that kids, because it's all this like subconscious triggers that are activating nervous system loops and brain activity. And yes, I have seen resolution using this approach. So I wanted to talk about these kind of three things where it's like self-worth and confidence, performance anxiety, and then self-trust. And when you're in this process, whether a parent raising kids is pretty much universal, these three things come up, or you're, a young person applying for college and all the things that are going to come with that going forward. These are like the three main issues that if you had an ability to have it's not that you're controlling, but to have an input in and an influence, you're going to win the game. If you're in your self-worth, I know who I am, I'm confident, you're always going to move forward in the way that's right for you. So social anxiety, or the feeling of like imposter syndrome, where you don't even try because you already have these conclusions like, oh, it's not going to work anyway. Or, oh, well, who am I to do that? I would never have become a doctor if I listened to my own self-doubt, because nobody feels like you're good enough to do what your heart dreams of doing. But when you have a way to overcome that, you're going to keep moving forward anyway. The fear of not being good enough, right? Who has not had inadequacy? Like you may always have some threads of that there, but if you have a way to be more powerful than the thoughts of inadequacy, it really is not going to matter. Fear of failure. These are one of the biggest things that like take people out of the game, that have them not even bother to apply. I had a friend who applied. He wanted to go to Harvard Medical School, and there were three of us that were pals. And we, the other two of us were applying and open to, hey, wherever we go. And he was like, no, got to go to Harvard. And he found out he did not get into Harvard. And if you would believe, he did not apply to another single school, and he never went. It took him out of the game because of his fear of failure was so big that he was supposed to do this thing and this was the only one and the attachment he had, and it took him completely out of the game. I really don't know what he's doing to this day, but he was devastated. So don't let your fear of failure have power in your system. You can use these modalities to be more powerful than the fear. And then the self-doubt, not trusting yourself, which can be anything from like your social situations, like, hey, do you want to go to this party? And you just kind of hold yourself back. You don't know, what do I want? Is this the right thing? Family dynamics, am I going to let people down? And not really being clear on what do I want? Because you've been told your whole life, here's what you should do. Here's what I want you to do. It is so important right now where you're in that intersection between finishing being a kid and starting your adulting, to have modalities to keep your nervous system regulated, because you're going to tap into, oh yes, that's what I want. Oh yeah, that's exciting for me. And there may be things your parents wanted for you that are the same as what you want, but you won't know if you don't get clear within yourself. And no parent actually wants their kid to just take the rote point and click of what they tell them and not think for themselves. So super important for that. I can do the next slide. Okay, so these are the points, super easy. There's this one on the outer edge of the hand, and everybody can just tap with me and kind of just play along with it. You can go on one side or the other, or you can tap your hands together. And that's how we're gonna do our initial to prime the nervous system for the outcome we want. And what we do is we take the like quote unquote negative thing of like, oh my God, I'm so scared about what's gonna happen, or will I perform well on this test? I'm sure I'm gonna bomb it. And you pair it with like the positive loop of harmony. So I'll guide you through that. Then there are the regular tapping points. So inner eye, and you're just gently tapping with the pads of your fingers, outer eye, side of the eye, under the eye. You can do this while you're driving. You can do this when you wake up, under the nose, right in the midline, right on the chin in the midline. If you ever feel anxious, you can just tap these points and breathe. Under the collarbone, just that soft, fleshy part. And then under the arm, and then the top of the head. That is the final point that I end with. There are some other points some people use. We're going to use this sequence specifically for anxiety and the process of applying imposter syndrome, and then self-trust. So we're gonna kind of apply it for these three things, and I want to look at what the comments are. Okay, yeah, great. So any age kid can use this. When I have a kid younger than 6, I have them cross their thumbs, and then they just do kind of more of EMDR type, because it's right and left brain that you're activating, and they will say the prompts that we're about to say, but they'll just gently do a little butterfly tap. You can also do this butterfly tap as an adult if you're kind of like working on really sensitive, tender issues that come up. Okay, so first thing you're gonna do, let's say, I use this a lot when I wake up to just energize my body, get excited about the day, get aligned with my goals. But let's say you're like really anxious about something and it hits you, or someone said something and it triggered you. Like the other kid's like, I got into blah, blah, blah school, and you feel your body go, oh my God, I'm doomed. Whenever you're triggered, you're gonna do a sequence. So you're just gonna tap on the outer edge and say, even though I'm so triggered right now, and you repeat it out loud. And maybe Lauren or Crystal can play along with me.
Even though I'm so triggered right now,
I fully choose to be at peace instead.
I fully choose to be at peace instead.
Even though it's never going to work out for me.
Even though it's never going to work out for me.
I wonder what else is possible.
I wonder what else is possible.
Even though I'm never going to make it, I'm afraid it won't be okay.
Even though I'm never going to make it and I know it's not going to be okay.
I choose to open beyond these thoughts.
I choose to open beyond these thoughts.
Okay, so that's the pairing of like the old loop and then a new possibility. Okay, then you just go to the inner eye. You could do one side or both. And now we're just going to tap on like the negative thing. And I'll explain why later. So now you're just going to say, I'm so scared. I'm so anxious.
I'm so scared. I'm so anxious.
Under I can't believe they just said that.
I can't believe they just said that.
Under the I, and I haven't gotten in anywhere.
I haven't gotten in anywhere.
Under the nose, and I don't know what's going to happen to me.
And I don't know what's going to happen to me.
On the chin, there's so much unknown right now.
There's so much unknown right now.
Under the collarbone, I don't even know if I'll be a success.
I don't even know if I'll be a success.
Under the arm, I'm embarking in a whole new part of my life.
I'm embarking on a whole new part of my life.
Over the head, and I don't know if it's going to be okay.
And I don't know if it's going to be okay.
So deep breath in, and then just powerful breath out. And I like to put my arms up with the inhale because you really enhance the inhale and you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which really helps recalibrate your whole body. And then I put my arms down as I exhale. Okay, that was just our first round. We tapped on the quote unquote negative thing. You can do a couple rounds of that, especially if you're like really, really triggered, or if the first round brings up more stuff. So, for example, the guy I saw with the severe back pain, he's like, I don't have any emotion. This is not any emotional. This is not, all that other voodoo stuff. No, 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 no. This is physical. And so we just tapped on the physical. So what you're doing is you're tapping on the known, like this thing the person just said, a feeling I'm having in my body, but it will inevitably bring up the emotions. Like you will just find universally when you play with this. And on round one, it brought up that he was afraid it would get worse. So that's fear. He was embarrassed to his friends, and that's shame. He felt guilty to his wife because he couldn't do stuff with her anymore. Guilt. These are emotions. And it really is right there under the surface, but we're just usually not really conscious of the emotions. So do that first round. Okay, we're going to do, and normally I would do like maybe 2 or 3 rounds to kind of neutralize the negative. And we're going to move on to what I would do once we kind of neutralize the negative a little. So inner eye, it's okay to acknowledge how much this is impacting me.
It's okay to acknowledge how much this is impacting me.
Outer eye, and to really feel what it's bringing up.
And to really feel what it's bringing up.
Under the eye. Okay, hold on. To feel my body and let it release energy.
To feel my body and let it release energy.
Under the nose, acknowledging I don't know how things are going to go.
Acknowledging that I don't know how things are going to go.
On the chin, it's okay to acknowledge the unknown.
It's okay to acknowledge the unknown.
Under the collarbone, and this is a big deal.
And this is a big deal.
Under the arm, and it's okay to feel what I feel.
And it's okay to feel what I feel.
Top of the head, even if I'm just acknowledging it to myself.
Even if I'm just acknowledging it to myself.
Okay, another deep breath in. And then exhale. I'm just going to look at the comments again, see if people are flowing with this. Now we're going to do, and you could do a couple rounds of that neutral. So I think of it as like a negative sign, then a question mark, and then a positive sign. Everybody wants to do the positive. I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm a great success, everything works out for me. You cannot put positive affirmations into your nervous system until you have released the resistance to the negative, because those negative thought loops are already playing out of like, I actually really don't believe in myself. I actually really think I'll never make it. Like these are unconscious. You have to make space first. So the most important part is actually neutralizing the negative. The second most important is the question mark, which is what we just did. Like, it's okay to acknowledge what I'm feeling. And then that question is like, I'm opening to curiosity. So I'm going to do a second round of that to give you the example. So inner eye, I wonder what might actually be possible here.
I wonder what might actually be possible here.
Outer eye, if I open up and feel.
If I open up and feel.
Under the eye, I wonder what it would be like.
I wonder what it would be like.
Under the nose, to just be with what's moving through right now.
To just be with what's moving through right now.
On the chin, to just give myself space.
To just give myself space.
Under the collarbone, what if it's okay to feel everything I'm feeling right now?
What if it's okay to feel everything I'm feeling right now?
Under the arm, and still be a great success.
And still be a great success.
Top of the head, what would it be like to know who I really am?
What would it be like to know who I really am?
And let myself be free.
And let myself be free.
Okay, so deep breath in. So that did trend more toward the positive, but do you see how it's the question? The biggest way to allow a shift in your nervous system is to go to curiosity. When I was really, really sick years back and had this crazy autoimmune disease, and my body was totally breaking down, and then I was told, you have to be on medications for life. You'll never run again. We don't know if you'll even finish medical school. It was like everything hit the fan. But right before I kind of collapsed into it, I thought, wait a minute, what if this is not true for me? I had learned enough about mind body medicine to know that the mind influences the body. I just hadn't been able to unwind this on my own. When I got this like dire diagnosis of this horrible like rheumatoid arthritis, blah, 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 it just hit me all of a sudden like, wait a minute, what's actually possible here? And when I started to go to curiosity instead of what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Fight or flight, everything shifted. And so, long story short, it opened me to begin to listen to my body in a new way. And you can do the same thing with whatever's arising for you. So, that second stage of the question mark. So, we got the negative, then we have the question mark. Now we're going to do the positive. But this is the most important is like, can you just go to curiosity? And that's going to be a key for you whenever you're triggered or you're anxious or you're about to go into a situation, you don't know how it's going to go. Is just, even if all you do is put your hand on your heart and don't necessarily do the whole sequence we just did, you can neutralize your nervous system that way and get like a little hit of what you're practicing if you do, start practicing this a little here, a little there, your nervous system is already primed and it's already listening. Okay, so now we're gonna do the third step and it's the positive. All right, so we're gonna say it's safe for me to do really well in my life.
It's safe for me to do really well in my life.
Or it's okay for me to be at peace with myself.
It's okay for me to be at peace with myself.
Do the I, it's okay for me to accept myself fully.
It's okay for me to accept myself fully
Under the nose. And to express what's really true for me.
and to express what's really true for me.
On the chin, to go for what I really want and to receive it.
To go for what I really want and receive it.
Tailbone. And I can let my body know
And I can let my body know
under the arm that we're safe.
that we're safe.
And if we're safe, we can just do really well.
And if we're safe, we can just do really well
And end up exactly where we're meant to be.
and end up exactly where we're meant to be.
Okay, deep breath in. Good. Thank you. And breathe out. And if you exhale and make a sigh, that's also an activator of your parasympathetic nervous system. So the key with this is a lot of us were in fight or flight all the time, especially when it's so important to us, but that will impair your performance. It will totally get you tripped up on your interviews, and it will really like block the communication, whether it's parent-child communication or it's like you and your peers kind of like just getting a sense of what's the right thing for me. You're not going to be in your highest mind. So you can use this anytime, anywhere. The link is drkimd.com/free EFT. And I have a whole sequence. One is for anxiety, one is for pain, fatigue to get your energy back, better than a cup of coffee. And the more adept you get with this, the more your just 1 minute check-in, just doing one round will be a powerful activator for you.
Yeah, I love that. So I've been saving this conversation for my daughter next week when we go on vacation because she has been stuck in the special sort of space that makes me wish that I could like ship her off to Lauren and acupuncture and all of the wonderful things that I do. And I'm just like, you know what? The easiest way to start with is something like this, especially for her age and the stuck feelings of just like not enough really is really what it stems from. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm really excited to see how this plays out with the child.
No, I'm excited to hear from any of you guys that, use this with your process. Feel free to email us and let us know, or if you have any questions, reach out.
Yeah, and Carolyn, there is so in the files there is actually a folder titled Strategies for to Ease Anxiety. So there's a resource hub, and it does have the link to Kim's course that she was just talking about, as well as to Lauren. So you guys have that in there to reference. Yes, fabulous. So I know we've We filled the hour, guys. So, any final questions that anybody has that they want to hit us up with before we let these wonderful ladies go for tonight? You're welcome. I was so excited that they were willing to do this session because I'm not as much of a nerd on this as Lauren is because she's like the legit practitioner, but I'm the nerd of all of like the modalities. So my friends joke and they call me the person that like has all of the witch doctors, and I'm like, yes, because I love all of my things and they all help me with something different, right? Like I don't want to give up acupuncture, like acupuncture plus Lauren plus Reiki plus that, right? Like all of those things make at like the energy clearing and like all of the stuff that I've been able to do over the last like 5 years possible. So, and the more I do it, the more I'm investing in myself and my well-being, and the better off everybody else is around me. So I just want to say thank you guys for being here and taking the time. And I'm glad that we get to share this then with everybody.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Good job, Crystal.
Beautiful.
You're doing great work. It's really important for people to have these resources. So bravo.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much, ladies. Have a great night.
Thank you.